All right, what's going on YouTube? Welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be building my good buddy a price to performance PC. He had a few requests, which were no RGB. That might upset some of you guys, but didn't want any RGB. He wanted a really stealthy, awesome performing build. He pretty much gave me free reign to build him whatever I saw fit. We had a budget to work with. Basically, a good friend of ours, his computer's broken. So I hit up my buddy Jordan. I said, hey, what do you think? You've been looking for an upgrade for a while now. What do you think about you and we go in together on a build, then we give your old computer to our friend with the broken computer, and then I try and fix his broken computer. We can sell that and split the profits there. So anyways, we teamed up on this project. We're really excited. The person whose computer is broken has no idea he's gonna get a new computer in a couple of weeks, so that should be awesome. But we'll kind of walk you through all the parts we selected for this build, and then we'll build it, we'll benchmark it, we'll see how it performs. So we are gonna go with a AM5 platform with the 9800 X3D. We actually found this used. You can find a bunch on Facebook Marketplace right now. A lot of the guys who wanted 9950 X3Ds ended up buying this because that was just the latest and greatest at the time. And now they're selling them on the secondhand market. So we picked this up for 400 bucks. We got a really good deal on it. So if you can find one from what looks to be a trustworthy seller on Marketplace, that might be a good option for you. I had an extra kit of RAM laying around. This is a 2x24 6000 megahertz kit, CL30, which I know you can tune down to CL28 to have really tight timing. So this kit is gonna perform great in this build. And then for the motherboard, we went with the MSI Mag Tomahawk X870E. This is a great price point for X870E boards. This came in at $299. So we're looking between all three of these things, 400 for the CPU, 300 for this is 700 bucks, and I believe this RAM kit is 180 bucks. So 880 bucks there on the platform. Now for storage, we are going with 3 terabytes. We're gonna have a 1 terabyte boot drive. This is the Crucial P3 Plus. So this is a cache-less drive, meaning as the drive fills up, it will slow down. But if you're only running your Windows operating system, you're running at 50% capacity in terms of the full amount of storage, it should operate at full speed. And then for his game drive, we're gonna have a 2 terabyte of that same drive. So 3 terabytes total, and that's Gen 4 speeds. Should do them really well. For power, we actually, oops, disregard that. We actually got a used power supply, which sometimes you gotta be careful buying used, but this actually isn't the box that came with it, but we got a Be Quiet Dark Power 13 1000 watt power supply. I got this for $100 on Facebook Marketplace, so we saved a bit of money there. I'm hoping it works. So you never know what you're gonna get. Maybe it's a great deal, maybe I just lost $100, so who knows. But we're doing that for power, and then we're throwing in a couple of more Be Quiet fans, as well as the Be Quiet Pure Base 501 airflow. And then for air cooler, I had a Be Quiet Dark Rock 5 from an old system that we're gonna be using in this build. Super solid, plenty of cooling for the 9800 X3D. Especially, this is just a gaming PC. It's not gonna be doing any sort of editing or anything that involves like full core workloads. So this should do just fine. It's whisper quiet. It looks super stealthy and sleek and black. So I think he's really gonna like that. Now for this build, he is going to be keeping his graphics card. So in the broken computer, his graphics card is not the problem. It's a CPU or RAM issue. I gotta figure out what that is. So Jordan's gonna be keeping his 3080 Ti in his computer. So for today's purposes, we're gonna throw a 5070 in there. I picked this up for the channel to do benchmarks for you guys, but this is gonna match the build, you know, really well. It's all black, no RGB. It was the cheapest 5070 I could grab. This came in at $599. but should give us pretty similar results to benchmark-wise what he's going to get on his 3080 Ti. This is technically, I think, 10 to 15% faster than the 3080 Ti. So keep that in mind when we get to the benchmark part of it. And then last but not least, we have a fan controller. I use this in almost all my builds. It's 10 bucks on Amazon. It's a Thermalright TL Hub fan controller. Super easy to get all your fans synced up. And then for the first time, I'm using the Easy DIY Fab cable extensions. I usually use Asia Horse extensions, which work great, but I have been using the 12 VH power 90-degree cable extension that these guys make. And to be honest, I don't know if it comes from the same factory, but it looks identical. So we're gonna give these a shot and see how it fares. So anyways, excited to see how this all goes down, and we'll get to building. All right, so I am building this behind the camera, but I think we'll be able to do this. Might just be a little tricky. And so, Wi-Fi extender here. Got our motherboard in our anti-static bag here. It's my first time using an MSI board in a long time. I typically go with ASUS products, but ASUS has become a greedier company. We're gonna try somebody else. All right, so this I think has a Q-latch system. Now it says screws. Yeah, you can just press in like that. That's pretty cool. Okay, we're gonna be using 2 of these bad boys. So use number 1 and number 4. Okay, so let's get our 1 terabyte installed first. We're gonna put our boot drive in the top slot. Okay. These come with a little screw in them too, but we're obviously not gonna need it. We do need to make sure you remember to remove the plastic there, or else your thermal pads will be of no use. And these drives shouldn't get too hot. They are Gen 4, so they're not anything crazy like the Gen 5 speeds that require a super beefy heatsink or anything like that. Should be fine. There should be plenty for gaming and destroying Microsoft Excel sheets, which I didn't even know if he'll do on this computer, but it's gonna browse YouTube really well. So that just presses down like that. Okay. We'll remove our plastic bit from here. It's a pretty good looking board. You can definitely tell where maybe, you know, it's skipped some parts in terms of build quality compared to some higher end boards, but for 300 bucks, I'm hoping this does everything that we need it to do. Like for instance, down here, you know, there's no thermal pad underneath. A more high-end board, you'd probably get something like that, but that's all baked into the cost. Okay, we'll install this one right here. A little latch there. Rip our plastic bit off of this. And this just slides in like this, I believe. These 2 should just slot into the... Oh, there we go. I didn't have it pushed over far enough. Okay. Well, you're smarter than me. You probably get that up down a lot quicker. But you know, we'll learn together, YouTube. So you don't have to make the same stupid mistakes that I make. Let's grab a screwdriver here. By the way, if you buy Be Quiet air coolers, you get an awesome Be Quiet screwdriver. So an added bonus there. But we are gonna be using a AM5 retention kit. So we're gonna remove this, and that's where our Be Quiet cooler plates will go. And then we'll remove these 4 screws, which will actually be a different head on the screw. So we'll grab our iFixit kit, which if you don't have one and you're into building computers is an awesome investment. They range from like 30 bucks up to, they have like really extensive kits. They're more expensive, but I think this mid-level one has had everything I've ever needed for it. And so you just loosen evenly. I try to make sure you always go even on all these. You don't want any sort of tension to snap from one of the corners, because you want to be really careful that you don't damage any pins on the motherboard. And we'll inspect it to make sure there's no previous damage from the manufacturer, which looks like we are all good to go here. And then we'll slot in our 9800 X3D right there. Awesome CPU. If you're just gaming, this is everything you need. You don't need a 16 core or a 12 core. If you are doing video editing or 3D work or anything like that, you'll definitely want one. So this we picked up from Amazon. They're like 10 bucks, Thermalright again. You can get a more high quality one from Thermal Grizzly. Those are about 25 bucks. I've used these Thermalrights, no complaints so far. I guess we'll see if they bend over time, and the great thing about these thermal plates, or contact frames, whatever you want to call them, is they make it so much easier to clean up thermal paste than without it. Because when you don't have one of these on, you're just using a regular, socket holder, whatever you want to call it, the thermal paste kind of gets down in these nooks and crannies of the chip, and it makes it so much harder. Okay, so that just slaps on like that. We'll grab the screws, and it will come, if you don't have an iFix kit, it will come with something that will remove it for you. But we'll grab this, okay? And then you wanna go in these pretty evenly. You wanna apply pressure down in a star pattern, and make sure we're not putting too much on one side and not enough on another, okay? So we'll give a couple screws in the top right. Just enough to catch the thread, maybe. There we go. Then we'll go to the bottom left. Then we'll go top left. Then we'll go bottom right. And we'll keep repeating that. And once you're finger tight here, you don't want to strip them, so just make sure they're all just nice and snug and not overly snug. Now let's get our memory installed and get our thermal paste applied, and then we'll put our Be Quiet brackets on. So here's a look at the memory. Vengeance DDR5, AM5, or AMD. You'll notice most of the kits for AMD are all gray. If they're Intel, they're black. You can use both for either. I don't know why they don't just make the same memory, but technically Expo memory is optimized for AMD, which this is. So this is 48 gigs. 32 is plenty for gaming, but because I had this is why we went with this. And I just tossed it in at no charge for him. And you always want to review your manual, but 99% of the time, you're gonna put your two sticks in DIMMs 2 and 4, probably called A2 and B2. All right, we are taking shape there. Starting to look pretty good, guys. Nice and stealthy, all blacked out. I think this looks pretty darn good. Got our I/O integrated on this board. Plenty of I/O, which I was really impressed with at the price point. Got two USB-C 40 gigs, one 10 gig, bunch of 5 gig ports here. And it does say USB 10 gig, and these are all 10 gig ports. You got a fiber optic if you want to use that for like a sound bar, like a Sonos Ray or something, 5 gig Ethernet and Wi-Fi 7. So plenty of runway there, and also has BIOS flashback, which I like just in case there's any issues with his BIOS and the 9800 X3D. I believe these boards launched at the same time. BIOS flashback is always a nice added bonus to have, which we looked at the B series version of this board, which was I believe 70 bucks cheaper, but didn't have BIOS flashback, so I opted for this one, as well as a better I/O on the back. All right, let's go get those Be Quiet plates. All right, so in your Be Quiet, the nice thing about Be Quiet too is all their hardware, like I have their AIOs, their new silent loop on mine. It's all the same mounting hardware, whether it's an air cooler or it's a AIO. So we got our AMD brackets here. So we're gonna slot our little caps over these here, okay. And then we will, I can't remember how this slots on. If I need to have them, oh, it looks like you gotta have it this way. Yep, so that's how it's gonna be. I believe it's like that. And like this. Now I have mounted this air cooler on both an Intel system and an AMD system. It seems to be way harder to get things evenly threaded on AMD for whatever reason. I don't know why that is, but it is what it is. You just need to get one side gently going as you get the other side. So we can talk about that while we're actually mounting it, but. We are mounted up there. Looking good, looking good. All right, so we got that mounted, and now we are gonna get our thermal paste applied here. Now, the nice thing too about having this little retention kit is you can apply a bunch and you don't need to worry about getting things messy because you got basically like a little tablecloth. And I'm a big proponent of using a spatula and spreading it around and making sure you got even distribution everywhere. So there's no guessing if you got the right amount of thermal paste. Okay. All right, looking good. And just like that, our platform is pretty much complete. It's got our RAM, our CPU installed. We got both of our SSDs installed. We have our mounting hardware for our cooler ready to go. So this thing at this point is now ready to go into the case. So at this point in the game, we have our platform built. We are ready to move it into the case. So we're gonna unbox the case and get that all rolling. Excited to see this thing. I wanted to build in it, and I'm really into clean and minimal PC setups. You know, just a touch of RGB, not too much. When I was first getting into PCs, I was like all about the RGB, and then something changed. Maybe right around the time I turned 30. I was like, yeah, you know, maybe it's cooler just to have like no RGB or a hint of RGB. That's kind of the look that I've been going for ever since. And I think there's just something about like a really clean build that just seems right. I really like air cooling. If you just got gaming PC, air cooling's totally fine. Whew, a little shock. And this case comes with two 140s pre-installed. We're gonna save all this styrofoam because we are gonna be shipping this bad boy to Jordan. Not bad looking. Pretty sharp, not super big. It's definitely gonna be like a sleeper build, you know, which is exactly what he wants. Something super fast, just looks like a regular computer. Kind of cool. It's like having a car that looks ordinary, but it's a super fast car, which is what we like. Little box of accessories in here. This is really nice. That's why I like Be Quiet. I mean, this is pretty sturdy. I like Be Quiet because even their baseline stuff, like their Pure line, is just so nice. There's attention to detail. The build quality's great. Yeah, I mean, I love their stuff. I will continue to recommend it and use it. Let's see how this pops off. Both undone. Does it just slide out? How does this work? Yep. Slides out. That could be a little bit better. Maybe just like with a magnetic little ball joint or something. Now let's see how this front part pops off. So we just pull. You gotta be careful when you're first working with a case. Yeah, it looks like it just wants to pull right off. Yep. Make sure you don't pull and break stuff. A little dust filter up front. And so we got two 120s to go with this. And it has a 140 in front and it has a 140 in back. So we're actually gonna move this back one to the front. So we'll have two 140 intakes. We'll have the CPU cooler in there, and then we'll have a 120 coming out the back on the top and out the back of the case, which should give us optimal airflow for an air-cooled system. Another thing I just noticed on here, which I don't know if you can tell from the camera, but this is perforated on this little cable management hider. Really like that. So the airflow is gonna go right through there into the CPU cooler if needed. And yeah, looks good. This doesn't look like it has support for back to front or BTF build, so keep that in mind if that's what you're looking for. But pretty impressed. Hard drive cage down here, which we'll be removing. But if you do still have hard drives, it is set up for that. Get that out of there. We are removing this back fan. And so these fans that come with it are their Pure Wings, which is their entry-level fan, which I'm guessing is still quiet because everything they make is pretty quiet, but maybe just lacking some build quality features that you'll find in their Silent Wings fans. Their Silent Wing stuff comes with like vibration, rubber dampening pads. These are just plastic right here. So you do miss out on a couple of things there, but nothing to really be worried about. Okay, then we'll move this fan down a little bit. So this one, something to be aware of. This one's a little harder to get to with the cable management tray right here. I don't really know. Oh, you can go through one of the perforations, so they thought of that. That's pretty cool. They think of everything. So we will get these mounted. Put this one up top here. A little funky to like have to fish the screwdriver through the grommet, but it's doable. Maybe it's not. I'll do the top one first. We'll do that one last. Okay. That one's installed. We are going to install the bottom intake fan now. Put that through there. Voila! Just like that, you got both your fans installed in the front. Should be awesome. And then we will now move on to installing the motherboard and the platform into the case. Now, we should have the motherboard screws in the accessories box that comes with your computer. Not all cases have the same motherboard screws in terms of the threading. Just got to be careful on which ones you're putting into your case. Okay, so that is the correct thread. So there's a middle standoff here, and then you got the rest of your standoffs up and around. So we're just gonna plop this thing. Now this cable management grommet, there we go. Kind of bend it, was giving me some fits there. Okay, boom. Looks like we now have that in the right position. So now we can just go ahead and pop in all of our motherboard screws. And we'll do it similar to how we did the CPU, where we'll do it in a star pattern. If I don't break the computer first. Whoops, I don't like how that's threading. And that one caught. Also, magnetic tip really helps a ton. You're gonna drop screws when you do this stuff, and it helps to have a magnetic tip on there. Okay. And be really careful not to over tighten these. They're so sensitive to getting stripped. So just make sure you don't go past that point. And the only one that really gave me any sort of fits was that upper right, which I don't know why that would be the case. All right, guys, make sure you use the M3 screw. That's the correct screw for this case. So I actually put the wrong ones in at first. They are tough to get out if you put them in there. They will feel like they fit on some, and then some just weren't weren't fitting right, and so I was like, you know what, let me try these ones, and they work much better. So make sure you use those if you are replicating this build or just building in this case. We have everything installed there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to mount the back fan, and we're going to get this thing wired up and ready to put the CPU cooler in. We have our Be Quiet Pure Wings 120. So all the fans in this will match, except for the ones that are on the air cooler are silent wings. So those are the slightly nicer ones. Okay. And you could obviously put a 140 on the back if you wanted, but the 120 will do just fine for this computer. So that's mounted. Got our cable extensions here. All right, so now we're gonna get this this case pre-wired and ready for everything else. Try not to make a mess of our screws over here. So it is hard sometimes if you guys are using cable sleeves for the first time and you don't know which is which. The ones that split in two, 4 and 4, that's gonna be your CPU. If there's ones that aren't split or that split 6 and 2, I don't know if you can see that, 6 and 2, those are gonna be for your GPU, so keep that in mind. That'll help you if it doesn't actually tell you what it belongs to. So, and the reason that I do it this way as well is it makes it so much easier to do the cabling. If we get all the cables run right now before the air cooler's in there, it's just gonna make it a whole heck of a lot easier. And this comes with cable combs, so we're gonna throw a few of these on each one. It's gonna go like that, and it's gonna go back up and over. So we want the cable comb to be on this side. Okay, got the first one on there. The rest should go on much easier. We're gonna throw it in here, clip that in. We're gonna loop this through the back here. And it'll be ready for the actual CPU power connector when we are. Okay, now we're just gonna do that, repeat that same process with the next one. Cable extensions is like one of the things that like doesn't cost that much, but just improves the look of your build so much. It's so worth it, 20 or 30 bucks that they cost to just make your build look really clean and nice. Nothing worse than seeing somebody like with a really nice PC that just has terrible cables. Just looks like trash and they're all over the place. We're just gonna do 2 cable combs on the CPU cables because that's all that's really visible in the first place, and then also that's gonna leave us some for his GPU connectors. All right, so second one is gonna go up and through here. So now we have the CPU cables done, and those are ready for actual power whenever we are ready to do it on the back side, okay? And we're gonna repeat this same process with the motherboard cables, and also you would do it, well, you actually wouldn't do it with the GPU. But yeah, we'll repeat the same process with motherboard cables, and then we'll get the front panel and everything else knocked out on the front of the case as well. And we are starting to put the cable combs on our motherboard power. This is like my least favorite part of cable extensions. It's getting these darn things going, but it's worth it. It is worth it. It's gonna look so much better. And also you wanna make sure you know which way you're bending this first, which way it plugs in. Because the worst thing ever is when you put the cable combs on and you realize you got them on backwards and you got to redo them all. That'll make you kind of cranky. Let me tell you. We've been there, we've done that. We were pissed, we survived. But that's, you know, that's PC building. And just PCs in general. It's always a big puzzle. When something's not working on your computer and you got to figure out what it is, it's frustrating, it's challenging, it's rewarding, you know, it's all those things. So, all right, we are gonna plug this in this way. Let's put this through first. Let's see how flexible this thing is. Because we don't have a lot of room to operate with. They seem pretty flexible though. Okay. Can this fit in here? Yep. That's gonna look super clean. You almost don't even need a cable comb. Let's see if we can slide the cable comb up front though, without bending the crap out of the metal. These are definitely more flexible, I feel like, than Asia Horse. So props to Easy DIY. As long as the power is good, then no problems. All right, so we got those installed. Now let's get the USB, all the front panel connections installed. So if you don't know what those are, it's a fan header right there. But this little bundle right here should be our front panel, which is that right there. And then there's our USB. And then here is our HD audio. We should have front panel USB-C, yep, right here. So we'll plug all those in and we'll get those all rocking and rolling. So first things first, we'll get our front panel connection going. So we're gonna loop that through. Flip this around so you guys can see what we're talking about. Okay, so front panel. This used to be a lot more of a pain in the butt before they started making these all-in-one adapters, which are awesome. We love those. And you just plop this in. It can only go in one way. So that'll sit down right on the bottom there, okay? Next thing will be our USB-C, which will plop in through here. This silver connector here. I'll try to get my fat head out of the way so you guys can see it. They don't really give us a lot of space to get this thing on. Almost need like an L connector for this. You got it? Bang. Be careful with that, guys. You could bend that pretty easily. Okay. You got both those wired. Now let's get our USB-A, which is this connector right here. I'm gonna get this wired in here. And you see we have two front panel USB-A's to choose from here. If you had a case that connects two, you could use them both. It doesn't matter which one of these you choose. If you only have one, they will both do the same thing for you. These pins are very fragile, so you gotta be careful not to bend them. Okay, clip that in. Looking good, looking good. And then we just have our HD audio. Now you don't have to use HD audio if you don't plan on ever using this. So keep that in mind, guys. But we'll wire it up just in case. He uses Bluetooth headphones, so he won't actually need it, but we'll do it just to do it. And the HD audio is gonna be down in the bottom left corner. Similar to the front panel connection, you can only put it in one way. Okay, so we got all that stuff wired. Now I'd say it's time for us to get that, well, the top fan mounted and then also the CPU cooler installed. You won't be able to do the top fan after the CPU cooler, so we're gonna do that first. We got our another Pure Wings 120. You're gonna be careful when you've already done your thermal paste as well. to not get other things bumping into the CPU and getting thermal paste all over them. Because I've done that too. If you can think of something bad that happened during building a PC, I've done it. And moral of the story is, it's usually not that big of a deal. But it makes you better at doing it. To where you can slap a PC together in 60 minutes. But this is my first time building one on camera. So I'm hoping I get the right angles for you guys. In a one-man setup and not a videographer, or I should say a rookie videographer. We are gonna learn by trial and error, just like we've done everything else in our lives. We faked it till we made it. Best way to learn, in my experience, is just by getting your hands dirty and doing the work. Okay, we got one more. Looking pretty sharp, guys. We are looking pretty sharp. We got everything all wired up. It looks super clean so far. The one thing I don't like is this kind of ketchup and mustard cables there, but it is what it is. You won't really see those once everything else is installed. There's no RGB in this build, so it'll look super clean. All right, let's get that air cooler mounted. All right, so now we are installing the Be Quiet Dark Rock Pro 5, which is an awesome air cooler. Maybe not quite as performant as the Noctua, but I prefer the look of this Be Quiet to the Noctua. To each his own. No offense to any Noctua guys. I love Noctua products as well. Okay, another downfall to consider about this cooler in general, so I'll actually show you guys, is these fans are proprietary and they use a proprietary connector. So a lot of people don't like that. If this dies, you have to use the exact fans that come with it, rather than just any fan. So keep that in mind. It'll be years before you have any sort of issues like that, but it is something to be aware of if using this. Okay. So like I said earlier, getting these threaded, you have to barely get one side started with AMD and then go immediately to that other side, or else it won't screw on properly. All right, also, when I originally put the bracket on, it appears I had put them on upside down. So we are flipping them. So yeah, guys, I've built 100 PCs and I still do stupid stuff. So just know, if you're a first time builder, you're gonna mess up. It's not that big of a deal. As long as you don't break something, you're good. I haven't yet to break something. So, all right, did that sit right? It looks like it's sitting right now. Okay, we got that thread started. We're moving over to this side. We got this thread started. That is the fastest I've ever gotten this to mount down. So we are feeling good about that, ladies and gents. Okay. Now we are going to get our fans installed down in here. Easiest is to leave the proprietary connector together and then mount the other one on. Okay, so that's on. Okay, then this one will mount in front, and then you're gonna attach this cable right here to the CPU fan header, which should be labeled nicely on your motherboard, which this one is. But it's upside down versus how Asus has it, no big deal. And then you have these clips. So these clips slap onto the fan. They are different size between Noctua and Be Quiet, so be aware of that. I'm sure other air coolers is the same deal. Looking pretty sharp. And voila, we are installed with the air cooler. All right guys, next up on our list here is the power supply. Okay, which we are gonna get wired up to all of our other connections this used power supply still had some of the stickers on it, so I'm hoping that this thing is gonna act like a brand new power supply. So hopefully we didn't get scammed here. Okay, but we will flip this around. This is the motherboard side. Now the one thing I've heard about these Be Quiet cases is because they are silent focused, they do come with a padding on the back panel, which sometimes can prevent you from doing cable extensions. Like there's not a ton of room. So we'll see if we run into any issues there. I'm really hoping not, because this build is looking super sharp. Okay, we got our motherboard powered, connected. We have some CPU power here. Also with this being used, the guy who I bought it from didn't have all the cables. So I did order another one of these CPU power cables. So we'll only be hooking up one today, which should be fine. It may prevent us from doing some overclocking, but this is a pretty low power chip anyways. So when the new cable comes in, we'll swap that right into this one. But for now, we're just gonna rock one of these. And Be Quiet power cables are tough to get anyways because they're proprietary on one side. So keep that in mind. All right. And then the only other connector we'll have a SATA connector for our power cable, which is this one right here. That looks like Molex though. Is it both? It's both. Okay, let's see. This one looks like just SATA, so we'll use that one. And then let's get our fan controller out. And actually, we'll just plug in this side first. And this goes into this one right here. Make sure you guys can see that. Okay, so there's our SATA. We are gonna be using one of these for our 5070, but the owner of this is using a 3080 Ti, so we'll send his cable separate. There's that. Our CPU power is gonna go in, and this is the proprietary part for Be Quiet. So it's a different size than other companies here. Okay, it's gonna go P8 there. And then motherboard, they have theirs in 2 pieces. So one goes here, and one goes in here. But this is a steal if this works. I mean, it's a titanium rated power supply, which is the highest efficiency rating. It's 1,000 watts. He's gonna have plenty of power for years to come, even if he goes with a 5090 or something like that one day. But for him, he plays at 1440p. A 5070 Ti would be absolutely plenty enough for him. I think that's probably the direction he'll go, either that or like a 9070 XT, depending on pricing and availability when it's time to upgrade. All right, so we will put the screws in the back here, which used power supply didn't come with the right screws, but we will find some that'll work, which it helps. You guys can buy, if you're into PC building, there's sets that come with like all sorts of different PC screws. So you guys can purchase those and just have them on hand. All right, so our power supply is now nice and secure in there. And we will get this thing wired up. Cable management is always something that, to each his own. I like to have it with really clean runs in the back. So I would normally get a little bit more particular with the cable management, but in this case, since there's gonna be that layer of sound dampening foam on the back of the back panel, I'm gonna leave this, instead of mounting it here and kind of cleaning up those cables, I'm gonna leave it the way it is right here, just to make sure that it closes and he's got ample room to install the CPU connector when he gets it in a couple weeks. I think it's a pretty decent job, and we're gonna close the back on it, and it's not like it's a rat's nest or anything. All right, guys, it is everybody's favorite part. It is time to get the graphics card installed. So let's unbox this sucker. and see what it looks like. As we said before, we got the MSI Shadow 5070. Smaller box, but this is the 3X version, so it's obviously gonna come with 3 fans. Slot it in there nicely. Take this thing out. Looks pretty good. It's gonna match the build perfectly with a nice stealthy look to it. Can give you guys a better angle. Pretty sweet. Okay, we'll remove all the plastic bits. Okay, what else comes in here? Just a connector. It does not come with a anti-sag bracket or anything like that, which would be nice for them to include. I don't really see how much added cost that really is, and it is nice, a nice touch if they were to include that. Let's not forget, 600 bucks is not super cheap for a graphics card. Should be a really nice mid-range card for 600 bucks. Kind of a plasticky build to it, which I guess you'd expect with the shadow line, but it does look nice. I mean, there's no frills with this thing. It's all performance. But, ooh, that didn't sound good. You guys hear that? Uh-oh. That's not good. Oh man. Oh, did it just pop back into place? Okay, no more sound. Well, hopefully that's a fluke, because I definitely will be returning it if that's the case. Let's get this lined up. It looks like we are going to be in the second top 2 slots here. Get those removed. This slide, how does this work? It just pops off, interesting. Not a huge fan of that design, but oh well. All right. See if we can get this thing slotted in here. There we go. Click it into place there. Our cable routed. I think it's gonna look pretty sharp. Nice and stealthy. I am liking it. All right, let's get these panels on. Should be our front panel here. Okay. That'll be our bottom panel. Put our top panel back on. And let's throw our back panel on. There we go. I gotta say, I think that is pretty good looking, guys. If you're into the all blacked out look, then I think you're gonna like this. All right, guys. Now the the million-dollar question. Will it post? Let's find out here. Got some lights. We're making some noises. We got fans spinning. Moment of truth. Looking good. All right, we are posted. So we will get Windows installed, get everything up and running, get the BIOS updated, we'll get some games downloaded, and then we'll get this thing benchmarked and show you guys the kind of performance you can expect from a 9800X3D and a 5070. So we'll be right back. All right, guys, through the power of editing, we are now here ready to take this computer for a spin. We're just going to test Call of Duty Warzone in this because that's the main game he plays. He does toy around with some Apex Legends, which is a bit easier to run, and then some Fortnite, also a little bit easier to run. So anyways, we're going to take a look, see what the overall performance is of this. Computer's running a little bit warm right now just because it's compiling shaders, but otherwise, this is a dead silent computer. I mean, this is going full blast with shaders right now. I don't know if the computer or if the microphone really does it justice, but it is totally silent. So one of the benefits you'll get from running a 9950X3D versus a 9800X3D is just the shaders. We're gonna go a lot faster. This is first time shaders, so it obviously is gonna take the longest, but they're lightning quick on the 16 core. What you are giving up going to the 8 core with the 9800 is things like this just take a little bit more time. So keep that in mind. But if you're just gaming, I still think it is worth giving that up to save the cash, because you can wait a couple more minutes just to save the extra money there. We'll run this unlimited. Should have our fan calming down a little bit. Okay. And he plays in 1440p, so we are going to switch this over to 1440p to get a baseline. Now, I didn't overclock this card at all because I want to get the closest possible result to what he's going to get on his 3080 Ti. We will just play at 144 instead of 240 because I don't want to spend any more time trying to figure that out. But we'll run some BR casuals here. Excited to see what this thing can do. But this computer is running so quiet. CPU is a little toasty right now for what I like to see, but it is hitting 126 watts on an air cooler. I don't know why it's running so hot at the moment. Should calm down here. The wattage decreases. All right, let's make sure my settings are right. They're not. 1616. Aiming. All right. Reset our counter here. So we're getting about 240 in the plane. And we're at 95-ish, 96% right here on the GPU. And we're seeing that CPU temp now calm down. We're looking at mid to high 60s, pulling less than 100 watts. Love to see that. And we have it overclocked, so we're at 5425 and just sitting there. We got PBO on. We have a slight undervolt on this 4.2, so I did my same tune on the CPU that I do on mine, on this one. So that way that's just done and ready to go as soon as he gets it. And this is the basic preset in 1440p. And down here on the ground, 190-ish, 80-ish, 190-ish. So definitely not getting quite as much as I would hope. I'm getting, 260 in some spots. It's a little all over the place, to be honest. So averaging 217 so far. So pretty good. I mean, obviously we could tweak the settings a little bit, probably get this a little bit more. And if you have a 5070, if it's anything like the rest of the 50 series cards, we can probably overclock this and get some more performance. So we'll definitely be doing that in a future video. Just make sure you get subscribed so you can see that. But yeah, it says it's fully maxing out this graphics card, which you'd hope a 9800 X3D wouldn't bottleneck a 5070. All right, let's go get into some engagements and we can kind of see what if the frame rate will drop at all. So right now we're averaging 211. Probably going to come down from here. You do see dips down in some areas. How did I miss this guy? So definitely dip down there. I mean, our 1% low is 132. Definitely seeing it dip down into the 150s. All right, one more engagement, then we're gonna call it. But yeah, there's no way that this is gonna stay above 200 FPS for the average, because it's coming down as we speak. So you're probably averaging more like 180. This is the quietest game of BR casuals I've ever seen in my life. But yeah, like see right here, 150-ish. So a little disappointed with the performance of this card, honestly. I thought we'd be getting better performance in 1440p with it. So I'm gonna have to overclock it, play around with it, and see if we can't get more out of the card. But there's a huge difference between this card and the 5070 Ti, because the 5070 Ti trades blows with the 5080 almost, and can get 300 FPS on average. And this is right now, if you're just looking at average FPS, which I don't think tells the full story because all the dips, you're at 300 FPS less, or not 300, sorry, 33% FPS less, 100 FPS. All right, guys, well, really happy with how the build turned out. I think it looks absolutely awesome. I mean, if you're going for a stealth build, this thing is completely murdered out, looks awesome, is totally silent. Even when gaming, under gaming load, my studio light was louder than the actual computer itself. So here's another sound test for you. I mean, this thing's basically a whisper. So super excited about that. We are gonna be doing some more testing on the 5070 coming up, so make sure you get subscribed for that. I was a little underwhelmed by the stock performance of it, but I just wanted to give kind of a perspective of what he could expect with his 3080 Ti that he currently has in this system. He's definitely gonna wanna be upgrading that GPU soon. It's a total GPU bottleneck. I expect the 3080 Ti to be about 10% slower in this game, but he's got a great platform to start. I mean, for what he wants, this is absolutely perfect. I think it looks sick. I like the all black look, but let me know what you guys think. Would you have changed anything about this PC? Would you be putting more RGB in it? Would you go for a different look, different case? Let me know your thoughts, guys. Also, if you are a subscriber and you are in my area and you want me to build you a computer, I'm happy to do that. Just contact me via the email on my page and we can talk about setting up a plan to build your dream PC however you want it. So anyways, thanks for watching, guys. If you like the video, make sure you like the video. If you want to see more stuff just like this, make sure you get subscribed. And with that, we'll see you in the next one.